Part 73. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 726. On the other hand, the extreme sun zone is just the opposite. The weather conditions are generally sunny and sunny, with hot winds and sandstorms often raging. Two extreme weather conditions are distinct. In addition, babies newly born in this world are physically just like normal people. However, if they stay in one area for more than 7 days, their physical constitution will undergo a qualitative change, and this change is irreversible. The reason why this happens, the researcher in the extremely cloudy zone said, is related to the weather in the two zones. The rain, snow, moisture, etc. in extremely cloudy areas contain certain negative factors, while the sunshine and hot wind in extremely sunny areas contain certain positive factors. If you stay in a certain area for a long time, you will be affected by it. When infected by factors, the body's constitution will change. It seems like this world is not an ordinary world, yin-yang factor? But how did such a special factor appear? Sutingyu was guessing in his mind when he felt the taxi stop. "We've arrived," the female driver said. Sutingyu turned to look at the hotel building outside the car window. "Oh, okay." Sutingyu paid 280 liangzhu, picked up her belongings, and got out of the taxi. Opposite the hotel is a bank. Sutingyu walked in carrying a box of money. 15 minutes later, there was only a wad of loose money left in the suitcase in Sutingyu's hand, and the rest was put into the newly issued bank card. Sutingyu went to the hotel and booked a superior single room with relatively complete configurations. She had to pay 4,000 liangzhu per day. Sutingyu made a reservation for 3 days. After getting the room card, he took the elevator upstairs. After entering the room, Sutingyu locked the door, put down his belongings, and checked the room first. After confirming that there were no safety hazards, he picked up his phone, found the takeout app, and ordered a takeout. There was a clock hanging on one wall of the room. Sutingyu checked the time. 21:30. Sutingyu took off his raincoat and took out a set of clothes and toiletries from the inventory. Although she was wearing a raincoat, she still felt sticky on this rainy day, so Sutingyu went to the bathroom to take a shower first. 10 minutes later. After taking a shower, Sutingyu took out a hairdryer and dried her hair. Sutingyu turned on the computer, went online, and began to search for the map of this replica world. When Sutingyu saw the world map, he was slightly stunned. On the entire world map, the two largest continents are separated by a strait, forming a pattern similar to the yin-yang Bagua diagram. As for the yin and yang eyes, what you can see on the map are two large lakes. These two continents are the extremely yin zone and the extremely yang zone, or they can be called the extremely yin continent and the extremely yang continent. In addition to the two largest continents, there are also some scattered small islands around the continents. When Sutingyu searched for how to get to Jiyang continent, he was shocked to find that the two continents implemented a seclusion policy. In order to avoid the loss of local members of the opposite sex, the royal families of the two continents mutually agreed to this practice. Because, if there is no explicit prohibition, the men in Jiyan continent will definitely want to escape to Jiyang continent, and vice versa. Over time, there may be only women left in the extreme yin continent, and only men left in the extreme yang continent. By that time, not to mention which one is more supreme, men's rights or women's rights, even the continuation of mankind will become a problem. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 727. I originally wanted to go to Jiyang continent for a visit, but now, is there nothing I can do? Sutingyu muttered. By the way, your physique will change in 7 days. Sutingyu lowered her head and looked at her current body. This was not her real body. However, if she could not find the clues to the main mission and complete it, wouldn't she be trapped in this copy world? Just like the 6 alien players who appeared in Blue Star, they have been unable to complete the main mission and have been trapped unless all 6 of them have agreed to commit suicide together to escape. But now, the dungeon that Sotingyu is in is not yet confirmed whether it is the real world, and he is not sure how to leave the dungeon, other than clearing the level, whether he can die. In case of death, the restrictions on escape are the same as those in professional dungeons. Someone must clear the level or all die before they can return to reality. There are more than 40,000 players in this round of dungeons. Once someone does not die completely, the player who died first can only passively trapped in the settlement space. The most terrible thing is that you have been trapped in the settlement space. After a long time, you have spent all the game coins and there are no players to borrow game coins. What awaits you is starving to death. With such concerns, even players who are willing to die for relief will subconsciously hesitate. Furthermore, if you stay in the dungeon world all the time, there is still a way to get some food. After searching for information for a while, Sotingyu's takeout order has been delivered to his door. Sotingyu opened the door to get the takeaway, and then continued to check information. This time, Sotingyu searched for symptoms of physical changes. During the 7-day transition period. On the first day, I experienced slight dizziness, chest tightness, and eye pain. The next day, I felt weak and unable to lift my spirits. On the third day, my whole body was hot outside and cold inside, making it difficult to move. On the fourth day, the bones of the whole body will develop in the direction of petite and exquisite. The fifth day. Sotingyu also watched short videos of specific symptoms caused by each day. The protagonists in the video are some adult men whose physiques have not yet changed. As for why there are extreme yin zones, it is nothing more than smuggling, human trafficking, etc. These short videos are quite good at choosing the protagonists. The male protagonists selected are, without exception, fair and tender. After 7 days of physical transformation, they are fully upgraded versions of little puppies. Sotingyu clicked his tongue and shook his head. No wonder, all the women in the extreme yin zone are so good at playing. The existence of yin and yang factors completely amplifies people's desires and evil thoughts, and also allows the beasts in their hearts to break out of their cages. In the extreme yin zone, men's physical transformation is like the upgraded version of a puppy, so what has become of the original woman? Sotingyu couldn't help but recall the previous situation in the bar. The most important thing about the yin and yang factor is that it changes the physique, and the women in the extreme yin zone treat men as if they are pets. It is one thing that they cannot resist, but there is no look of resentment at all. This is very strange. Sotingyu hurriedly searched the extremely yin zone to see how the negative factors affected women's physical changes. Special ability. When Sotingyu saw these 4 words in the search results, he blinked his big eyes in confusion. This feels a bit like the supernatural powers of our world. Good guy. Not everyone in Blue Star has supernatural abilities, but in Yin Yang continent, there is a group of people who all possess special abilities. How does this allow those oppressed male groups to resist? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 728. After searching for more than 2 hours of information, Sotingyu finally had a certain understanding of this dungeon world. Now, there is no way to cross Jiyang continent for the time being, so Sotingyu can only stay in Jiyang continent to see if he can find Qin Chi and others. It was almost 12 o'clock, Sotingyu released Big Hui to keep vigil, and then went to bed. Just as Sotingyu closed her eyes, she suddenly thought of something. Kikai and Guju are both men. If they appear in the extreme yin zone, they feel like they will be eaten alive by the women in the extreme yin zone. Ahem, you can use both the inventory and professional talents. Even if your physical condition deteriorates, it shouldn't be a big problem. Thinking like this, Sutingyu fell asleep with peace of mind. The night is getting dark, the sky and the earth are lonely, thousands of households have gradually turned off their lights, and in the luxurious and confusing wealthy urban area, the nightlife has just begun. In a white jade castle that was full of elegance, beautiful and soothing light music came out one after another. The gate of the castle is open, welcoming many upper-class ladies wearing exquisite dresses, and some women will be accompanied by 2 to 5 pets. In Jian continent, in public places, if a man wears a collar around his neck, it means that he is a master, and other women cannot harass the master at will. But once you encounter a man who is not wearing a collar, if he is good looking and is attracted to him, it is very likely that the women will fight for him in public, or even take him away by force. And if women fall in love with an owner's pet, they can negotiate and trade with the pet's owner first. If the original owner agrees, they can take away the pet they like. Long time no see, Sister Zhu, you look very good today. You feel 10 years younger. Really? You are so sweet, I don't even feel it myself. District Chief Li, who is busy with work, will also come to the auction. Haha, just here to relax. As more and more upper-class ladies gathered together, it was easy to meet acquaintances and start to fake smiles and greet each other. In the parking square opposite the castle, a bright red RV is very eye-catching. The car body is inlaid with gems of different colors and is shining. At this time, in the RV, in addition to the driver and 2 bodyguards in the front seat, there was a fat woman on the lathe in the back, holding a white and tender little man in each hand. One person was rubbing the fat woman's shoulders and beating her legs, and the other he held a small plate of grapes, peeled off the skins, and then handed them to the fat woman's mouth. On the small sofa opposite the fat woman, Shan Yu was browsing the internet for information about this copy world with his new mobile phone. Master, I'll ask you to check out the luck of the auctioned goods later. I need to find a pet with a good life, preferably one that can be held 3 times a year. The fat woman looked at Shan Yu with respect, and said in her tone, there is a bit of desire. Just a few hours ago, the fat woman happened to meet Shan Yu, who had just entered the dungeon. The latter was confused and couldn't figure out the situation for a while. When the fat woman met Shan Yu, who was both beautiful and in shape, she wanted to ask for advice. Although fat women have money and power, they can't lose weight no matter what, so that when they meet a thin and beautiful woman, they can't help but seek advice. Naturally, Shan Yu did not miss the novice village NPC that came to his door. After knowing the fat woman's needs, Shan Yu fooled her a little, and then took out the beauty supplements from the inventory that had an immediate effect when the other party wasn't paying attention, and instantly gained her trust. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 729. Okay, no problem, I'll cover it. Shan Yu smiled calmly on his face, but his heart was beeping. 3 people in 1 year, I don't know if my professional talent can be seen. When the fat woman believed that he could help her beautify and lose weight, Shan Yu overheard the voice of a pet next to the fat woman. To be precise, it was a voice with evil thoughts. This is a passive talent in Shan Yu's profession, which can receive the voice of Dai with evil thoughts within a certain range. Shan Yu can also block this kind of reception independently. However, when he first entered the dungeon, Shan Yu did not block it in advance for safety reasons. Unexpectedly, he suddenly gained something. The fat woman's pet had secretly had an affair with one of the former's female confidants. At that time, he was complaining that the fat woman's skills were not as good as the female confidant's, and even revealed that the female confidant had previously passionately confessed that he had secretly taken refuge in the fat woman. I also complained about my political opponents in my mind. Naturally, Shan Yu would not let go of the certificate of nomination that came to his door. When the fat woman learned the news, she was shocked and angry. However, she did not believe it completely for the first time, but went to investigate first. Naturally, everything turned out to be correct. The fat woman dealt with the matter quickly, using Shan Yu's special ability to predict. So, the fat woman made a very strange request. Let Shan Yu help predict a man who can bring prosperity to his wife and children. The fat woman's name is Mei Langxiang, a high-ranking official. She has been in the officialdom for decades and has had many pets, but she still has not been able to give birth to a daughter. Therefore, Mei Langxiang is more concerned about when she can have a daughter than beauty and weight loss. However, Shan Yu's prophetic method without warning was mistaken by Mei Langxiang as prediction. In order to gain more trust from Mei Langxiang, Shan Yu had no choice but to follow the trend and use the metaphysics in the real world to deceive the latter. Shan Yu had made up his mind to wait until he figured out this copy world before finding an opportunity to escape. Before that, he would just fool around. Tonight, there will be an auction in the castle, and celebrities from all walks of life are invited to participate, and the goods being auctioned are a group of delicate and fair male chicks. The pets around Mei Langxiang didn't live up to expectations, so she came to participate in this auction. Naturally, Shan Yu was also invited to come with him. "Master, if there is anything you like in tonight's auction, just mention it and I will take a photo for you." When he got off the car and entered the venue, Mei Langxiang made a bold promise. "Thank you, Meiju." Women in the extreme yin zone have become accustomed to treating men as goods and pets, just like they still need to eat and drink. At first, Shan Yu would be a little surprised, but now, he has gradually adapted. Inside the castle, Shan Yu followed Mei Langxiang to the 5th floor corridor of the castle. Each floor of the castle has a semicircular corridor. Looking down from the corridor, you can see the bidding table arranged in the hall on the 1st floor. In the corridor, the 2nd and 3rd floors are free areas where people can stand and move around at will. On the 3rd floor and above, seats will be arranged. A group of seats has one main seat and 3 secondary seats. Each group of seats is separated from each other by floor-to-ceiling screens. There are complete tables and chairs, and drinks and snacks are available at any time. There are waiters standing by at all times. In addition, the height of the floor is also a reflection of status. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 730. The bidding was about to begin. Shan Yu looked down casually, and when she saw a female figure at the bottom of the 3rd floor, she looked stunned. "Damn, is that the old woman?" Mei Langxiang noticed that Shan Yu's eyes seemed to have been staying in the same place for too long, so he asked, "Master, what's wrong?" "It's nothing, I seem to have met someone I knew, and then I looked at them a few more times and found that they just had similar faces." Shan Yu's expression remained normal, as if he was continuing to watch the bidding, but his heart was very uneasy. Chu Xinyu actually came to this round of dungeons. Shan Yu always remembers the hatred for kidnapping her in reality. Shan Yu secretly caught a glimpse of Chu Xinyu talking to the woman next to her. With a thought in her mind, she asked Mei Langxiang, "Mei Bureau, do you recognize the lady in the purple skirt over there?" Mei Langxiang looked in the direction pointed by Shan Yu. "Master, that person's name is Su Jian. She is not from the same agency system as me. She works in the middle and senior levels. Recently, she seems to be getting promoted and will soon be on equal footing with me." When talking about Su Jian, Mei Langxiang's expression was not very touched, and could even be said to be a little cold. After all, a subordinate who you were not very familiar with in the past will soon become your equal, and no matter who you are, you will not treat that person how you treat him. "I see." Shan Yu looked at Chu Xinyu and Su Jian, who seemed to be having a lively conversation, weighed it in his mind, and temporarily suppressed his thoughts of revenge. After bidding for a long time, it gradually came to an end. During this period, Shan Yu always observed the changes in Mei Langxiang's expression. If the latter was the goods that he also wanted, Shan Yu would take advantage of the situation and make it clear that that goods had a higher probability of having a child. When Mei Langxiang heard this, he became even more happy. He decisively participated in the bidding and won 2 goods at once. The shooting is going to start next, but I got a good product unexpectedly. I don't even want to continue to host it. I just join the bidding directly. I won't talk nonsense anymore, and the goods are on the way. An iron cage was pushed onto the bidding table on a cart by an attendant. The man was leaning against the corner of the iron cage. He was only wearing a thin white shirt and black pants, his feet were bare, and there were iron rings around his hands and feet. The man was born very handsome, with extremely delicate facial features, and his skin was milky white and smooth, resembling a freshly peeled hard-boiled egg. On the 3rd floor, when Chu Xinyu saw the man in the cage, a trace of surprise appeared in her eyes, but soon, a hint of a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Almost at the same time, Shan Yu also saw the person in the cage. The familiar face made her almost unable to help but stand up. Fortunately, her rationality returned in time and forced her to stop her impulse. But the surprise in his eyes couldn't go away for a while. Why was Gu Qi sent to the stage? It shouldn't be, isn't he very strong? Shan Yu stared closely at Gu Qi, who was obviously unconscious on the stage, and his eyes were broken, and a guess appeared in his mind. It should be those items in the extreme yin area that are specially designed to tame men. Is this a boat capsized in the gutter? Or is he affected by the extreme yin factor? At this time, Gu Qi's appearance set off a wave of looting among many celebrities. Shan Yu even saw Chu Xinyu also joining the bidding. Grass. This old woman. Shan Yu had no money, so he could only borrow Mei Langxiang's help. Meiju, the goods below are quite satisfactory to me. Originally, Mei Langxiang was still thinking about fighting for it, but when he heard the master also expressed his attitude, he immediately stopped thinking. Since the master likes it, then I will help him bid. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 731. The price of cookie is rising little by little. Gradually, Mei Langxiang, who had originally bid for 2 goods, awkwardly expressed to Shan Yu that she did not have enough money with her. In the end, Gu Qi was bid down by Su Jian, who was next to Chu Xinyu. Su Jian is young and promising, and there have been rumors recently that she will be promoted. By then, she will be someone who can reach the 3rd floor or above. Some people who had the ability to bid gave up bidding because they did not want to antagonize Su Jian. Seeing this scene, Shan Yu's heart sank. Su Jian obviously knew Chu Xinyu. If Gu Qi fell into the hands of the former, wouldn't it mean that he would fall into Chu Xinyu's hands? Just when Shan Yu was thinking of another idea, Mei Langxiang secretly said to the former, "Master, don't worry, I will help you get the treasure you want." Upon hearing this, Shan Yu looked at Mei Langxiang. Mei Langxiang smiled shrewdly. Sometimes, there is more than just fair bidding. Others don't want to offend Su Jian and are willing to give her a good deal, but Mei Langxiang is different. Because, Mei Langxiang had received word before that the position that Su Jian was going to be promoted to was originally her apprentice's, but for some unknown reason, it was replaced by Su Jian later. There are many twists and turns in this, and Mei Langxiang can guess 50% to 60% even without full evidence. Then I'll thank Meiju first. Shan Yu felt a little relieved. After the auction ends, the goods bid will be delivered by a dedicated person. Generally speaking, many women can't help but spend the night together after the auction has just been completed. Therefore, the castle has also specially prepared rooms and various in-room utensils. Mei Langxiang also informed Shan Yu of her method. Su Jian is about to be promoted. During this period, reputation is definitely the most important thing. And because Su Jian took his apprentice's position, Mei Langxiang secretly investigated and found a lot of information that could directly ruin Su Jian's reputation. Originally, Mei Langxiang wanted to help his apprentice, but now, his apprentice's future is not as important as his own offspring. Master, please take a short rest and wait for my good news. Good. After Mei Langxiang left, Shan Yu also set off directly to find Gu Qi. Negotiations on Mei Langxiang's side will take a certain amount of time, and Shan Yu is a little worried. At this time, some room. Chu Xinyu removed half of the effects of the medicine on Gu Qi, and soon, the latter gradually regained consciousness. The first time Gu Qi woke up, he saw Chu Xinyu standing beside the bed. Wake up, what a coincidence, little Gu Qi. Chu Xinyu leaned down, closed her eyes, and gently smelled the scent of Gu Qi's body, looking slightly intoxicated. Go away. Gu Qi's face was serious, his eyes were fierce, and he stared at Chu Xinyu with undisguised hatred. Seeing Gu Qi struggling to get up, but his limbs seemed to be stuck to the bed and unable to move even a little bit, Chu Xinyu kindly reminded. Xiao Guqi, look at the iron rings that lock your hands and feet. They are specially used on the bed to train some disobedient pets. The bed underneath is also specially made to hold the iron rings firmly. As a player, the iron ring has restricted the use of your inventory, right? Don't be too surprised. I happened to meet a male player who asked me for help before, and then, I experimented on him by the way. While saying this, Chu Xinyu stretched out her sharp nails and gently scraped the side of Gu Qi's face like a dragonfly. Gu Qi didn't believe it, but he tried several times, but still couldn't open the inventory, and as Chu Xinyu said, he was locked on the bed and couldn't move. Seeing Gu Qi's helpless struggle, Chu Xinyu felt even more happy. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 732. In order to better stimulate Gu Qi, Chu Xinyu used scissors to cut open the former's top bit by bit. Get away, get away. Gu Qi's eyes turned slightly red, his face full of anger, and his body began to tremble uncontrollably. Xiao Gu Qi, didn't your father Gu Yan remind you? Don't try to come to me. Huh. After all, I have raised you for more than 10 years. I know your temperament and weaknesses very well. So, disobedient children will receive a little punishment. Over and over again, Chu Xinyu continued to stimulate Gu Qi, just to see the other person's angry and helpless little look. Miss Chu, Deputy Director Su wants to see you if I have something to do. Just as Chu Xinyu was about to take the next step, a voice came from outside the door. Chu Xinyu paused for a moment, then straightened up and threw the scissors back into the toolbox. Chu Xinyu looked down at her little friend and chuckled, be good, wait until I come back, and we can slowly catch up on old times. Before Chu Xinyu left, she forced Gu Qi to eat a colorful candy that melted in his mouth and didn't even give Gu Qi a chance to react. The kid is about to cry. Then reward him with a candy. This candy is very sweet. You will know it soon. After leaving such a meaningful sentence, Chu Xinyu left the room. At that time, she also deliberately locked the door. After Chu Xinyu left, Gu Qi felt dizzy and nauseated. Before he could hold on for long, he fainted again. Before Gu Qi completely lost consciousness, he murmured one word, Ling. As soon as he finished speaking, a few seconds later, transparent thin threads appeared all over Gu Qi's body, and the thin threads emitted increasingly intense white light. Finally, the white light dissipated, the transparent thin line disappeared, and beside the bed, there was a man in white with long silver hair. The man in white lowered his head slightly and raised his hand to touch Gu Qi's forehead. Suddenly, the man in white turned his head and looked at a wall, his silver eyes flashing. The next second, the man in white disappeared into the room. The other side. After finding Shan Yu less than half a floor up, he returned to the VIP lounge to see if Mei Langxiang was back. It's a pity that the person did not come back. When Shan Yu turned around and wanted to continue looking for someone, a man in ancient white clothes with long silver hair suddenly appeared in front of her, which really shocked her. This man, why there was no sound of footsteps, it was as if he appeared out of thin air. You. Just as Shan Yu was about to question, the man in white raised his hand, and a transparent thin line shot out from his sleeve. Before the former could react, the tip of the thin line touched the center of her eyebrows. For a moment, it seemed as if a bolt of lightning penetrated directly into Shan Yu's brain. And some dusty memories hidden deep in the brain have been wiped clean again. In a certain community park, several children covered their swollen faces and ran to find their parents crying. Beside the swing, only 2 children remained. "Hey, squeamish girl, you will be my little follower from now on, and I will protect you." The girl in a pink princess dress had her hands on her hips. She clearly had scars on her face, but she held on proudly without shouting. Pain. In front of the girl, stood a boy wearing a rabbit onesie. His white clothes were stained, but his beautiful round cat eyes were astonishingly bright. He nodded his head in admiration. Yeah. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 733. When Shan Yu came back to her senses, the thin line touching her had disappeared. But the man in white is still there. Shan Yu continued to ask the unasked question, "Who are you? What do you want to do?" At this time, the man in white opened his lips slightly and muttered 2 words silently. Shan Yu hesitated on his face. "You mean, Gucci? Do you know where Gucci is?" The man in white turned sideways and pointed in the direction of the door. "You want to take me to find Gucci?" The man in white nodded, then turned around and walked out of the door. "Wait a minute, you." Shan Yu followed him out. There were many women coming and going outside, but the strange thing was that none of them seemed to see the man in white. Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Shan Yu still chose to follow the man in white. Finally, the man in white brought Shan Yu to the door of a room and stopped himself. There is a row of rooms like this in the past. Shan Yu knows some of the procedures for ending the auction, and can also guess the use of these rooms. Shan Yu reached out and tried to twist the handle, but it was locked and could not open the door. Just when Shan Yu was about to use game items to break down the door, the man in white moved his fingertips slightly, and a transparent silk thread penetrated into the door hole, directly unlocking the door lock mechanism inside. This time, Shan Yu opened the door easily. Walking in, Shan Yu glanced around and saw Gucci lying on the bed. Gucci. Gucci, who was awakened, opened his eyes and stared at Shan Yu in front of him warily. There was no trace of rossiness on his face, and there was even a hint of shock. Your friend found me and asked me to come." Shan Yu pointed to the man in white beside him. Shan Yu also lowered her voice subconsciously, wondering if it was her imagination. She felt that Gucci now was like a fragile glass bottle, which would break and collapse if she was not careful. At this time, a ball of white light suddenly filled the body of the man in white. Gradually, his figure disappeared, and then, circles of transparent thin lines appeared out of thin air, surrounding Gucci like a silent guard. Huh, Shan Yu blinked slightly, a little surprised. This person is actually Gucci's game prop. Or is it a bundle of thin wires? Gucci lowered his head and glanced at the chains that were cuffing his hands and feet. His eyes turned cold and he shouted in a low voice, "Ling, get it off." Before he finished speaking, the 2 ends of the transparent thin line were like a trace of light that left only an afterimage, drawing a horizontal line in the middle of the surface of the lock ring. The next second, the 4 lock rings broke in unison. Gucci got up from the bed and took out a new top and a pair of men's short boots from the inventory. Shan Yu lowered his head and glanced at the torn pieces of clothing at the corner of the bed. After thinking about it, he bent down to pick it up and rolled it into a ball, not even letting go of the small rags. Gucci looked at Shan Yu's actions blankly. Feeling that someone was looking at him, Shan Yu explained calmly, "You can't throw garbage here casually, right? I'll go out and find a trash can and throw it away." After saying that, he found a black plastic bag and put it in the garbage. "Put it in the same way." Gucci stared at the person. As soon as he took a step forward, his body suddenly became unstable and he almost fell to the ground. "Are you okay? Time is running out, we need to get out of here quickly." Shan Yu stretched out his hand to help Gucci, but the latter subconsciously dodged it. Gucci pursed his lips tightly and his face turned pale. Don't come over." "Okay." Shan Yu nodded, not annoyed, but asked in a normal way, "Can you hold on?" Gucci closed his eyes and tried to adjust his emotions. After a while, he opened his eyes, and his mood became significantly more stable, as if the fragility of the previous moment never existed at all. Upon seeing this, Shan Yu was about to open the door when he seemed to remember something and turned to look at Gucci. He was not wearing anything around his neck. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 734. Shan Yu took out a collar from her inventory that she had obtained not long ago. It was a collar specially worn by men in this extremely yin zone. She tried to store it in her inventory and found that it worked. Put it on first, and then take it off when it's safe. Men who appear in the extreme yin zone without wearing a collar to declare their ownership can easily cause trouble, especially good-looking ones. Gucci. Seeing Gucci's expression of resistance, Shan Yu continued to persuade, "I'm not lying to you. I have learned about the situation in the extreme yin zone. If you go out like this now, it will easily attract attention. Wear it first." "Okay." Shan Yu was about to approach, but Gucci took several steps back as if on a conditioned reflex. Shan Yu looked stunned for a moment, and then she spoke again, "There is a double switch on the collar. The first layer is simply locked, and the person wearing it can also open it by himself." Gucci was confused for a few seconds, and finally reached out to take the collar. "Don't move. You don't know how to use it yet, so don't wear it wrong," Shan Yu explained as he approached. This time, Gucci did not avoid it and allowed Shan Yu to help him put it on. After putting it on, Gucci reached out and touched the collar as if he was worried. While wearing the collar, Gucci's inventory cannot be used. Shan Yu reminded aloud, "There is a small button at the back. Just click it and it will open. Don't touch the red button in front. That is the switch on the second level." Gucci followed Shan Yu's words and tried to open it. It could be opened, and the inventory was restored to use, and then he locked it again. Immediately, Gucci stared at Shan Yu again. Then, "Let's go." Shan Yu held the doorknob with one hand and waved at Gucci twice with the other hand. Seeing this, Gu nodded. "The other side." "Jian, what do you want from me?" After Chu Xinyu entered the door, she found that besides Su Jian, there was someone else there. "Mei Langxiang and his two little boys are here." Chu Xinyu looked at Su Jian. "Who is this?" "This is Bureau Mei from the Finance Bureau, Xinyu. Bureau Mei is here to see you." As she said that, Su Jian's face was a little complicated, and she looked at Chu Xinyu with a hint of apology in her eyes. When Chu Xinyu heard the words Finance Bureau, her eyes immediately changed. Mei Langxiang's plump body was sitting on the single sofa. His tone was casual but unusually strong. "I'll get straight to the point. I'm interested in the goods you just bid for. Let's count them." Mei Langxiang still had his two little male pets with him, and the latter two completely ignored others and served their master wholeheartedly. Chu Xinyu looked into Mei Langxiang's eyes and asked, "Mei Bureau really likes the goods we just bid for?" Of course Mei Langxiang couldn't help but feel a little emotional when he thought of Gucci's face and figure. However, Mei Langxiang knew better that it was a gift to the master, and he could not get even half of it. As for pets, she can have them anytime, anywhere, no matter what. Since Meiju really likes her, then I can only be as beautiful as an adult. Chu Xinyu smiled on her face, showing a very considerate and friendly attitude. Chu Xinyu felt a little regretful. It's a pity that I can't catch up with the children this time. However, if a child falls into the hands of such a fat-headed and big-eared pig woman, we don't know what kind of torture he will get. It's really exciting. After reading this, the smile on Chu Xinyu's face became more genuine. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 735. Shan Yu wanted to go back to the VIP lounge with his people. And along the way, Gucci behind him was too dazzling, and the women coming and going were like she-wolves with green eyes, staring at a piece of plump meat. If it weren't for the fact that he was wearing a collar, many women would probably be tempted to rob him. But just the look made Gucci feel extremely uncomfortable and nauseated. At a corner, a woman finally couldn't hold it any longer and stepped forward to stop the two of them. Gucci has been following Shan Yu, so naturally, the unknowing woman regards Shan Yu as the former's master. Your little pet is quite nice. Let me give you a price and I'll buy it. The woman's greasy, fiery eyes kept examining Gucci. The woman recognized that Gucci was the item to be auctioned, and it was the most important thing to her. At that time, she was short of money. After the auction, she immediately ordered someone to go back to collect the money, and then came to find the owner of Gucci through the auction, and then conducted a transaction. Gucci clenched the hand hanging at his waist into a fist. Little by little, his eyes became cold, and he looked at the woman as if he were looking at a dying person. Shan Yu stood directly in front of Gucci, and also blocked the woman's coveting eyes. I'm sorry, I like this newly found little treasure very much, so, I won't sell it. Shan Yu smiled coldly, please give in. If you don't want to sell it, you won't sell it. What a fool. The woman was a little embarrassed after being humiliated, so she deliberately looked at Gucci behind Shan Yu with a critical and disgusting look. I've been looking at it for a long time, so that's it? It's not uncommon. With that said, the woman turned away and left. Let's go. After persuading the woman to retreat, Shan Yu tilted his head and said something. Gucci lowered his head and followed Shan Yu without saying a word, like all the pets here, silent and honest. After turning a corner, the VIP room was already in front of him. When Shan Yu walked over, he saw a woman in a black suit coming out of the VIP room. Shan Yu knew this person as one of Mei Langxiang's bodyguards. The man looked around, and when he saw Shan Yu, he came over immediately and said respectfully, Master, so you are here. Meiju asked you to come over and say that the deal has been concluded. Okay. Shan Yu felt relieved after hearing this. If Mei Langxiang couldn't reach an agreement, Shan Yu would really have no choice but to take Gucci away by force, but that would be the last resort. Are you staying in the VIP room, or are you going together? Shan Yu, who was about to go over, turned to ask Gucci. Gucci raised his head, glanced at her, and said nothing. Then let's go together. Upon seeing this, Shan Yu stopped asking, the answer was already given. After the bodyguard finished pretending to be deaf and blind, he stretched out his right hand, put his 5 fingers together into a palm, pointed in one direction, and motioned to the two of them, please follow me. 3 minutes later, the bodyguard took the two people to the door of another lounge. The bodyguard opened the door, turned sideways, and motioned for the two of them to go in. Inside the door, Chu Xinyu, who was still chatting happily with Mei Langxiang, saw the two people coming in, and the smile on her face gradually disappeared. Shan Yu, on the other hand, had a hint of Victor's provocation in his eyebrows. Thank you, Ms. Chu, for your generosity. I can't wait. As soon as I receive the news from here, I will immediately go find my people. You shouldn't. Do you mind if I'm too impatient? Ha, Of course, I won't mind. Although she was so polite, the smile in Chu Xinyu's eyes was gone. Gu Qichen lowered his head and tried his best to control the impulse in his heart, so that he did not kill Chu Xinyu immediately. At this time, a familiar voice sounded in Gu Qi's head. Do you want to make this old woman angry? Please cooperate, /.